For some footballers, it is simply not enough to be brilliant in one position. John Charles, arguably the greatest British footballer of all time, was such a brilliant centre-half and centre-forward that for a number of years, he could have made a World 11 in both positions. Coaches used to joke that the best way to use Charles was to start him at centre-forward, let him grab you a couple of goals, and then stick him in defence to see out the game. And they were only half joking. Similarly, Philipp Lahm was equally brilliant at right-back or in central midfield, due to his tactical understanding of the game. In the very first international fixture between England and Scotland in 1872, in fact, Robert Barker started in goal for the Three Lions with William Maynard up front. But at some point during the second half, the two players decided to switch positions. Because, why not? Both Barker and Maynard kept clean sheets in a 0-0 draw. That was an awfully long time ago though, and we rarely see strikers and goalkeepers voluntarily trading positions midway through a game these days. But are there still many 2 or even 3 position players? The answer to that question is yes. But in today's video, I'm not just interested in wingers who can play on either flank, centre-backs who can cover up fullback, or defensive midfielders who could also operate in a box-to-box role. No, I wanted players who can, and indeed do, play in 2 radically different positions, with wholly different responsibilities. Players like Kim Jin-hyuk of the K-League, who frequently alternates between playing as a centre-back, centre-forward, and on the wing. So let's see how I got on. Here are 7 of the best examples of 2-position players in world football right now. David Alaba. Fear not, I know I just said that I'm not interested in players who can play as both fullbacks and centre-backs, which are the 2 positions David Alaba is best known for playing in at club level, but that is not the reason why he features in this 7. Alaba is among the most complete and versatile players in all of world football, and one suspects that there are few outfield positions where he couldn't deputise at a very high level. Though he made his name at Bayern Munich at left-back before beautifully transitioning into a world-class centre-back under Hansi Flick, Alaba plays in a much more advanced role at times for Austria. As the national team's star man for the past decade, Austria have often looked to get Alaba involved on the ball more often, playing him in holding midfield, central midfield, out wide on the left, and even as a number 10. Even at Real Madrid this season, the 29-year-old has played predominantly as a centre-back and left-back, but has made sporadic appearances in central midfield and out wide on the left wing, so Alaba gets us started, and he gets us started in some style. Ilkay Gundogan. Ilkay Gundogan probably isn't the first player that you think of in terms of 2-position footballers, having spent most of his career operating in fairly consistent central positions, picking passes, and recycling possession with ease. Gundogan is a player of many surprises though. Deceptively quick, incredibly hardworking, and graceful on the ball, last season we saw another dimension added to Gundogan's game. With Sergio Aguero sidelined, Gundogan played a whole series of games as a number 10, and even deputised as a false 9. Manchester City's most advanced player at times, certainly from a central position, Gundogan enjoyed a wonderful spell of goal-scoring form, culminating in a memorable brace against Tottenham Hotspur. I said in the introduction that players who can play in a couple of different positions in midfield wouldn't feature, but I think Gundogan exhibited a little bit more than that. In the space of just 9 games last season, Gundogan played in 5 different positions and scored 11 goals, having never previously scored more than 6 across an entire season. So I think that just about merits an inclusion. Ivan Perisic. A footballer who laughs in the face of those who can only play in a mere 2 positions, Ivan Perisic is arguably the most versatile player in world football at this moment in time. Already this season, in a campaign that is still young, Perisic has already started games at left wing back, on the left wing, on the right wing, as a centre forward, as a number 10, and, well, basically every outfield position, aside from in defence and defensive midfield. First and foremost a left winger, which is where he has spent the bulk of his career, it was primarily when Antonio Conte got hold of him that we started to see Perisic deputised at wing back, among a raft of other positions. A fantastic athlete, but also a really intelligent footballer, it is the latter of those 2 attributes that has allowed Perisic to transition from position to position quite so capably. A two-time Bundesliga champion at two different clubs, and a one-time Scudetto winner who reached the final of the 2018 World Cup, the skill sets required to play as a wing-back and as a centre-forward are sufficiently different, as far as I'm concerned, to all but guarantee Perisic a spot in this seven. And the fact that he has done such a good job pretty much wherever he's been asked to play only shores up his selection. In fact, not only could even Perisic now play in almost any position on a football pitch, he can also play another sport to an international standard. Perisic competed in the 2017 FIVB Beach Volleyball World Tour, representing Croatia a year before he reached the final of the FIFA World Cup. Though, he would be slightly less successful in the volleyball tournament, going out in the first round alongside his partner Nikša Dejorko. Damir Krylak. I should point out, in case any of you are thinking that Damir Krylak must be one hell of a player if he's better than David Alaba, Ilkay Gundogan and Ivan Perisic, that this seven is in no particular order. And if it was, the difference in positions that the players can play in would be given just as much weight as their overall talent. Nonetheless, I am very happy to be able to justify the inclusion of Real Salt Lake star Damir Krylak, since it has been much too long since the MLS was mentioned on this channel. Typically, I like to make at least one MLS or US soccer related video every couple of months, given the number of US subscribers and viewers to the channel, but I have let that slip recently, for which I sincerely apologise. Going some way towards making amends, Damir Krylak is another Croatian, like Ivan Perisic, who is remarkably versatile. Formerly of Rijeka and Union Berlin, before heading stateside in 2018, Krylak left Union the season before they reached the Bundesliga for the very first time. Thankfully, his move to the MLS has been a big success, heralding 41 goals and 23 assists from 117 appearances to date. Nicknamed King Krylak in Salt Lake, the 32-year-old Croatian is possibly the most underrated player in Major League Soccer, and I thought he was unfortunate to miss out on a best 11 inclusion in his debut campaign, and he would be equally unfortunate to miss out once again in 2021. An unorthodox free-kick specialist with a first-class football brain, Krylak can play just about anywhere throughout the span of a team, as he has proved during his time in Salt Lake. Defensive midfield, central midfield, attacking midfield, and centre forward. Krylak has done them all, and he has done them all well, so his talents and performances won't go unrecognised by the masses any longer as he earns himself a spot in my 7. Fredrik Mitchell. Another slightly lesser-known name and face from within the world of football, at least for non-Dutch and non-Norwegian viewers. Fredrik Mitchell is a Norwegian international who plays his club football for AZ Alkmaar in the Eredivisie. To call Mitchell versatile would be akin to calling Peter Crouch tall, Rupert Murdoch an odious cancer upon society, and the Newcastle United owner a little bit choppy. That is to say, it would be a tremendous understatement. Mitchell can play just about anywhere on a football pitch, with the exception of left-back and centre-back, and he rarely ventures so far forward as to be the team's primary centre-forward. Holding midfield and central midfield have been the 28-year-old's primary roles over the years, but he is no stranger to appearing out wide on the right flank. Industrious, intelligent, and really good on the ball, I must admit, I was slightly surprised to discover that he has only won 11 caps for Norway to date, and I suspect he could become one of the older heads who sticks around to help this talented new group of young players transition into the national team's next generation. Anaït Sarbia. Fullbacks have become far more attack-minded, adventurous, and creative in recent generations and years, but I still think it is fair to describe fullback and attacking midfield as being pretty radically different roles. And yet, Anaït Sarbia can play in both positions. And centre-back. He plays there a fair bit as well. A candidate for either the most complete or the most confused footballer on the planet, Anaït Sarbia is a bit of a journeyman footballer from Pamplona, who has made 2 appearances for the unofficial Basque Country national team. Formerly of Athletic Bilbao, where he came through the club's youth ranks, Rayo Vallecano and Espanyol, Sarbia has been with Eibar since 2016, with whom he suffered relegation from La Liga last season. Renowned for his work rate and occasional thunderbolts from range, in addition to his versatility of course, Sarbia held the record for the highest dribble success rate in Europe's top 5 leagues at one stage last season, and he extended his deal with Eibar until 2023 over the summer just gone. Joshua Kimmich. I mentioned Philipp Lahm in the introduction, and in a 7 that started with a former Bayern Munich man who can play as both a fullback and a midfield, we end with a current Bayern man who can do likewise, and is widely considered to have been Philipp Lahm's successor at both club and international level. I know a lot of people want to see Trent Alexander-Arnold deputised in central midfield, but the transition from fullback to holding or central midfield is actually an incredibly difficult one. Joshua Kimmich just managed to make it look very easy indeed. I think Kimmich served briefly at least as the best right back in the world, after finding home there under Pep Guardiola. He moved into midfield much earlier than Philipp Lahm did during his own career, but he has done so with equally emphatic success, becoming, without doubt, I think, the best holding midfielder in world football, and I think that's a title that he probably retains right up to this moment in time. Aged 26, Kimmich recently talked down his own individual talents when asked whether he felt he should have been nominated for the Ballon d'Or, but either he suffers from imposter syndrome or he was parroting false modesty. Kimmich's technique, stamina and intelligence make him one of the best players in the world, wherever he plays. And if I were picking a World 11 at any stage over the last 5 years, he would have made it, just in different positions at different times. That is it for today's video, but honourable mentions go to Jorginho Wijnaldum, Sergio Roberto, Joao Cancelo, James Milner, Phil Foden, Alexander Zinchenko, Stuart Dallas, Kim Jin-hyuk, Enric Saborat, Ulrich Saltness, Vagon Mobeg, and many, many others. It was tough whittling it down to 7 though. One thing I noticed whilst gathering my shortlist was the high proportion of Manchester City and Bodo Glimt players. Make of that what you will. Thank you all very much as ever for watching. Hit the like button if you enjoyed today's video, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and make sure you are subscribed, of course, and have notifications turned on for HITC Sevens. You can also find me on Twitter and on Instagram via the username at HITC Sevens on both, should you wish to do so.